So this was now January 61. So 10 months before, Eisenhower had already ordered a subversion plan for Cuba, and one that everybody knew about because Miami was not a great place to keep secrets. And the CIA had recruited several thousand Cuban men and brought them to Guatemala to receive military training so that they would invade the island of Cuba and take over the government. In April of 1961, as most of you know, or a few of us actually remember, this invasion took place at a spot that the Americans call the Bay of Pigs. Cuba calls it Playa Girón. Girón Beach was one of the landing spots where the invaders alit from their U.S. boats. Some 1,500 Cuban exile men came ashore, and the fight was on. Fidel and the revolutionary forces knocked them off in 72 hours. This became known in Washington as the Bay of Pigs fiasco. And President Kennedy, of course, got egg all over his face because Eisenhower had handed the plan over to him rather than carry it out himself. He must have had doubts. Eisenhower, being a very experienced general, knew about the many, many mistakes that occur on the field of battle. And in the Bay of Pigs, many of these mistakes were made. The plan was actually a fairly simple one. The invaders would land at this rather remote spot on the south coast of Cuba and make their way north for a few miles on the only highway that existed, where there was a big sugar mill. If they could capture this sugar mill, they could control the heights and therefore control the highways coming in all directions and be in a position to set up the independent or free Republic of Cuba, whatever they were going to call it. They would be quickly recognized by the U.S. government, and then they would bid for U.S. military aid, which would, of course, be immediately forthcoming. That was the plan. Kennedy didn't want to have U.S. troops involved in the initial invasion because he thought it would ruin his reputation throughout the world, which it probably would have. I mean, another big bully attacking a small island nation. Anyway, I think the revolutionaries saw through the plan quickly. The Americans sent planes to bomb to take out the Cuban Air Force 2 days before the landing, which alerted the Cubans that it was about to happen. Had they done it like the day before or the same day, it wouldn't have had the effect of that alarm clock. Anyway, they didn't take out all of the Cuban planes. They were somewhat successful, but not altogether. And the Cuban Air Force then took out the supply boats waiting in the harbor so that the invaders could not be supplied or resupplied. And that left only American naval ships out in the international waters off the Cuban coast, waiting to be called by Kennedy, which he never did.